Be able to say your job, and your job says you. So I had a coworker who experienced some pretty significant workplace trauma, abuse, if you will, from a clientele. I'm in the banking space. My coworker was assisting, she's a manager in the location I work at. She's assisting a client. Let's just say it was a Friday. Client's trying to negotiate a check, doesn't go the way they want him to go. So the client starts to cuss, get loud, grabs the check, and starts to dart towards the door. In the process of doing so, she says, "I'll bat out of you. I will beat out of you." As she's going out of the door, directed to the manager that wasn't able to help her with her transaction. Some way or another, that client reaches out to upper management about her experience, as if she was the one assaulted. Fast forward a couple of days later, she tries to come back in and negotiate that same item. She's turned around at the door by the manager, signaling to security not to let her in. Understandable, I'm sure many of you can understand. In that process, she reaches back out to the upper management, the client who got turned around. So the upper management reaches out to my coworker and tears her a new asshole for turning around a client that assaulted her verbally and threatened her a few days prior. Crazy. How does this story correlate to the essential need to get yourself to $100,000? There's two major back points to this story that I'm giving you. Number one is I know the backstory to my coworker. She does pretty well for herself. She has a husband that does pretty well for himself. At the end of the day, she can't leave her job no matter what happens based on their lifestyle with their kids and their family's need. She can't just walk off her job, and be okay financially doing so. And there's no worse feeling in the world to be anywhere, especially at your job, get disrespected and assaulted by a customer, a client, whatever the case may be, and then have your upper management not only not support you, but then turn around and basically continue to abuse and assault you for defending yourself, or at least trying to protect yourself from the aggressor, the client. $100,000 in two different capacities is something essential that every single one of us need to work towards, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. The first capacity is the U.S. Labor and Statistics Board and OSHA has documented that at least 2 million workers a year are assaulted in some form or fashion, or abused, assaulted physically or psychologically in some form or fashion at their jobs. That number is probably way higher, but it basically breaks down to like 1 in every 4 workers witnesses or experiences some level of abuse or assault at the workplace. $100,000, anywhere from average to median salary, is going to shake out to somewhere around a year, generously speaking, to couple to a few years of expenses for the majority of Americans. Now, a lot of you may be thinking, well, the average to median salary, depending on where you live, is 40-something, 50, 70, 80, $90,000. You have to keep in mind taxes and deductions. Most of us take home 30 to 40% of that salary that's being quoted is not coming to our pocket. We're actually living off of 60 to 70%. In some cases, if that, depending on your deductions of that money that we claim we make from our jobs. So if you do make $100,000 a year on paper, you probably actually see 50 or 60,000 or 65,000 of it. That's just reality. Everybody who's watching this that works can relate to that. $100,000 in actual, tangible money in its purest form allows you the ability, if need be, to step away from or transition from a hostile environment and keep your self-respect and dignity when your job is not going to back you up in a situation when you try to protect yourself from assaults and abuse. That will hold you over as far out as a year, year and a half, 2 years, 3 years in some cases for some people, depending on your income and your situation and your family needs. That's number one. Number two, probably the bigger and more important one that I think many of us in this era, in this generation, especially if you're under the age of about 50 and you got 15, 20, 30 working years in front of you, we all need to be thinking about how to create our own financial independence, not just because it sounds sexy, but because between the advancements in technology and AI, between how hostile workplaces are getting to be in, and also between the economic factors that are making it impossible to have a decent quality of life while working a job, just working a job. We have to create other forms of financial stability and independence. So that $100,000 now becomes pivotal. And I want to give a quick shout out to All Things Real YouTube channel. I think his name is Ronnie Gilmore. It's like realtor in the DC, Maryland area. Has a great channel. He covered this topic in this aspect that I'm about to go over, and I just wanted to give him his flowers. $100,000 is the baseline. It's not all created equal. I want you to pay attention. $100,000 is not created equal. $100,000 in cash It's not the same as $100,000 in stocks and bonds. It's not the same as $100,000 in real estate. Your three major avenues where this money could be and where it could come from. Very important when you start thinking about how do I get away from this environment, long-term in perpetuity, like long-term quitting my job and quitting my career and focusing on either my own business or living off of some kind of assets. When you look at it from that perspective, $100,000 is a pivotal baseline of real gains that you can sustain in the right assets. $100,000 in cash is not a good place to be other than for emergencies. It is extremely difficult to get a decent return on cash, even in the interest rate environment we've been in for the last year or two, where you can get 3 to 5% on savings and CDs, high yield savings and CDs. That's not really moving the needle against inflation and the rising cost of goods, services, and insurances, etc. So that basically means your $100,000 needs to either be in stocks and bonds, real estate. We can even maybe roll cryptocurrencies, and honestly, you can even consider gold and silver in that bucket. That $100,000 is different in those assets. It's less than 15% of Americans that have $100,000 in cash savings. From what I remember looking up, it's probably less than about 15% that have $100,000 in stock, like in retirement assets. And most of them are over the age of 50. And then there's about 60% of homeowners who have $100,000 in equity. $100,000 is not created equal. Your ability, especially in the economic cycle we're in, we have a new administration that's coming in. 9 out of 10 times, the asset markets, the interest rates are trying to continue to come down based on the Federal Reserve's mandate and policy. Trump, we already know we had a presidency with him. He's gonna try to make a lot of different moves that's going to pump money through the system. Initiatives around real estate and trying to solve the housing crisis situation. And of course, keeping the stock market as high as possible. Your money needs to be in one of these areas. It needs to be in one of these areas because $100,000, as my man at All Things Real said, at 10% is $10,000. You get a 15% return on your asset, and that $100,000 asset, whether it be real estate appreciation, whether it be stock gains, that's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 at 10, 15, and 20%. You get that year over year, and that money's compounding because that 115, if you got 15% in 2025 in the stock market or in real estate, is now getting 10% in 2026 on the 115, not the same 100,000 you started with. So I'm telling you this because many of us are in environments and in situations where we're all experiencing, a continuous workplace that don't give a about us. They can care less about us, no matter how smart we are, etc. And as much as we can serve them is how much they care, maybe. At the time this employee was assaulted, the staff was short 2 or 3 people. So she's literally an octopus in the workplace trying to do 6 different things at the same time, getting assaulted by a customer, and then turns around a couple of days later and gets assaulted by upper management for trying to protect herself from somebody who threatened and disrespected her. If nothing else is gonna motivate you to get yourself financially in order and work towards these benchmarks of 100,000, $500,000, and working your way on up to where you can have at least the flexibility to walk away from a job and work towards another one or another career or whatever. Or ideally, be self-sufficient and not need a job at all in an ideal scenario. If you're not motivated by your self-respect, by your dignity, your integrity, your safety, we deal with crazy people every day. There's nothing saying that lady couldn't have been waiting for her outside of work when she got outside of that branch when it was over to really assault her for real. There's nothing saying that that's not a real possibility just because it doesn't happen all the time. We read articles and see videos all the time of these things going left in real life. I wanted to bring this in because it's a really live example. It ties deeply into the financial focus that we have on this channel and how it links to our quality of life, our psychological health, our mental and emotional health. Nobody should have to deal with that shit. Like, nobody should have to deal with that shit. And companies and corporations don't give a damn. And upper management in this particular story I'm telling you, prove that. It's all about the bottom line for them. Don't turn customers around even if they assaulting you, threatening you, spitting in your face, shitting on your kids. It don't matter. As long as they're paying customers, they're right. Like, don't ever turn them around. Like, what the fuck? Listen, I don't know about you, but that was a continuous wake-up call for me to stay motivated and continuing to advance my financial position and get to the point where I can control more of my own destiny, my quality of life, and determine where I'm going to put my value. That's going to get the best return and give me the most respect and appreciation for my value and contribution to the marketplace. Comment down below and let me know if you've ever experienced or what experiences you've had with workplace abuse that you can relate to. Comment down below and let me know, were you in a position where you had to eat it, or were you in a position where you were able to walk away from it, empower yourself? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Let me know what you're working towards as far as your $100,000 goal or your $500,000 goal, or whatever you're working towards, to be able to create a little bit of autonomy for yourself and independence and self-sufficiency. Comment down below and let me know what avenue you're going through. The stock market, you're going through real estate, you just saving cash, land, farming. Let me know in the comment section down below. To all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.